All right. Hey guys, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump right into it. This is graphing linear inequalities. Let's go. Number one, y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 4. Okay, so for right now, we can just ignore this. Right? This is not necessary over here. This thing right here, we'll just ignore it for right now. Right? We'll erase what we just did in a second, but we'll just pretend it's an equals just for right now. Okay. So then what do you do? Well, if it's equals, then isn't this just slope intercept form, right? Like m x plus b, yeah. AKA the 4 is the y intercept, right? So it's the y intercept, y intercept, and then the 3 is the slope. Well, negative 3 to be exact. So negative 3. And so if you're familiar with graphing lines, graphing inequalities is not that crazy. Okay, so I'll kind of review graphing lines for number one. If you know how to graph lines really, really well, then you can scrub past this, or you can, just double time it, or however you want to do this. But real quick, let's do that for number one, and then the rest of them we'll just kind of jump right into the inequality part of it, right? So number one, graphing just a line, graphing a line. How do you do that? Well, you got to start with like a place. If the slope, this is a slope. Slope is like how slopey is it, right? So it's like okay, if it's not slopey, we're talking like wheelchair ramp, right? Real not slopey. That would be like a fraction, like a small fraction. But if it's real slopey, right? Like you're climbing a mountain, right? Well, that'd be a big number, right? So this is 3. This is 3. It's real slopey. Well, slope is rise over run. You measure rise over run because if you rise more than you run, then it's real slopey. If you run more than you rise, then it's not very slopey. Right? So just generally that's what's going on there. So we need to write it as a fraction because we need to say, okay, well here's the rise. What's the run? Well, if there's no run, if there's no denominator, we make one. You put a 1 there. Right? You have to put a 1 there. You can't put any other number there. Right? Because when you divide by 1, nothing happens. So this is fine. We can write this as negative 3 over 1. So that means we rise negative 3, which kind of doesn't make sense. So maybe it makes more sense to say fall 3, like it go down 3, right? So the rise is negative 3, aka we're going to go down 3, and then we run 1 to the right. So right is like the positive direction. So I like to keep the negative always on the top number, and then that way the bottom number will always go to the right. But that just tells us how slopey it is. We don't know where to start. The 4 is where we start. So we start here. Start here at 4. Put a dot there. All right? Not too crazy. And then we just follow the slope from there. So the slope tells us where to go, not where to start. You got to start with the 4. I know it's kind of weird because it's like you read it from left to right, but the 4 is where you start, not the 3. So just got to keep that in mind. 4 is where we start. So we're at 4 here. We're gonna go down 3. 1, 2, 3. Down 3 from 4, right? You don't start from the origin. It's not a point. We're not graphing a point here. Negative 3. We go down 3 from 4, and then right 1. Boom, there it is. All right. So now we have 2 points. If you have 2 points, you can draw a line that goes through them, right? So now let's go back to the eraser here. Let's see what are we dealing with here? Greater than or equal to. Okay. So there's a couple things we got to keep in mind here. There's only a couple things that are different about inequalities when you compare inequalities to just regular graphs. All right. So there's just a couple things. If the sign, if it's y greater than, right, or y is greater than or equal to. If it's one of those, think about it, right? So what does y, what does the y-axis do? It goes in two directions. It goes up and it goes down. Right? It goes up and it goes down. So y's, when you think of a y value, it's going to go up or down, right? So y greater than. Okay, what does that mean? Y greater than. Well, which way is greater than? Is that up or down? Right? Because we're dealing with y. Y greater than. Which way is greater than? Right? If y goes up and down, it's up. goes up. So you shade up, right? So you shade up. That's it, right? So if you see this sign, greater than, the greater than sign, or the greater than or equal to sign, right? So these two signs. And if you get them kind of confused, I'll show you another way to do it. So greater than, it's pointing to the y, right? So if the mouth is opening up to the y, then the y is greater, right? The y is greater, so it's going to go up, right? And if it's not, then it's lesser. Okay, so I can imagine you probably figure out what this next part's going to be. What's the opposite of shading up, right? Well, shading down, right? So y is less than, or y is less than or equal to. Okay, right. So the little bar thing just means the or equal to part. So the mouth is like the important part here right now, right? The mouth is the important part. So we can shade up, and we can also shade down. Shade down. All right, cool. So we're gonna shade down. Oh, you know what? What else? There's this other thing too. There's this other thing. What about so you know how the lines are either dotted or solid? Maybe you haven't learned this yet and you're seeing this for the first time. If so, it's gonna blow your mind. But now all of a sudden, lines can be dotted. Yeah, kind of weird, right? They normally are solid, right? You just draw the line and then you're done, right? Well, now things are more complicated because that's always how math gets, right? It just gets more complicated. So here's the deal. If it's like this or like this, right? So notice the signs point different ways. Now the point of this thing here, these two y's and the signs, the point of this is not the which way the sign's facing anymore, right? So which way the little mouth is pointing to, that's going to tell you where you shade, right? If the mouth is opening up to the y, that's shade up, right? Greater than, shade up. If the mouth is pointing away from the y, shade down, right? Y is less, shade down. Okay. Now notice these two both don't have the little bars, the little horizontal kind of like an equal bar thing. They don't have that. So that means it's not like an equation at all, except that we still put it like some sort of a line. Well, we put a dotted line. Dotted line. You can do dashes, you can do dots, you can do whatever you want, I guess, as long as it's not a solid line. Anything other than a solid line. I mean, you could probably even like use a different color or something and do a solid line, and then just say like, oh, this color means like a dotted line or not equal to, because that's what the dotted line is supposed to mean, is that it's not equal to. So it's not like the line is not the answer, only the shading is the answer. And I'll show you what that means in a second. So what's the opposite of this? Well, a solid line, right? Like the classic solid line. Okay, so then we have the or equal to, the little bar underneath it. If it has a little bar, we're going to put a solid line, right? So a solid line, and I promise that's the end of the notes here. That's it. That's all we need. Because you're probably like, wait, I'm just getting a lecture right now. No, we're done. We're done. That's it. That's all you need. You got to know when to shade up, shade down, dotted line or solid line. All right, that's the only difference. You know what? There's one other difference. It's with this X thing. All right, but we'll get to that when we get to that. All right. So most of the time it's Y, right? It's Y, and then it's got the sign, and then it's got some other stuff going on. So all right, so we want to do a solid line. We got the bar. We got this little bar thing here. So we want to do a solid line. Let's see if we can draw. See if I can draw a solid line. So it's gonna be like right here, and like that, and like that. So something like this. I wish I had a line tool, but I don't have a line tool on this thing. So we're just going to do it like this. There we go. Okay, solid line. Okay. So that's kind of the steps, right? So step one is to just graph it like it's a regular graph. All right, just graph the points, right? So graph the y-intercept, step one. Step two, use the slope to graph another point. Step three, solid or dotted. Step four, shade up or down. So four steps, right? So y-intercept, use the slope. So graph the y-intercept point. Use the slope to graph a second point. All right, so now you've got 2 points. Then you do a solid or a dotted line through those 2 points, and then you shade up or down. Okay, 4 steps. I'm not going to write them down because I don't really have a whole lot of space here, and because you're probably getting tired of hearing notes. So, greater than. All right, so the mouth is opening up to the y. What is that? That's shade up, right? So shade up. Boom, 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 boom. We're done. That's it. All right, number 1, done. All right, and for now that we have the notes and we've done one and we showed you how it looks like here, we don't need any more notes. That's how all these are going to go, right? So we're good. We're good. Let's go on to this one. All right, what's step 1? So I probably should write these at some point, but I don't think I'm going to. So step 1, what was that? It was graph the y-intercept, right? So -5. Y-intercept is the number that's added or subtracted to the x. Okay, so we start with that. -5 right here. Boom. Okay. By the way, there's a -5 right here, but that's on the x-axis. This number is a y-intercept only. All right, so don't get that messed up. Always on the y-axis. All right, so -5. That was step 1. We just did step 1. Step 2, use the slope. All right, so what is the slope? It's rise 3, run 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. There it is. Step 2. Okay. So step 1, y-intercept. Step 2, use the slope to get another point. Step 3, solid or dotted? What do you think? Yeah, solid, right? Solid. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay, that was y-intercept, slope, solid or dotted, shade up or down. Well, now the mouth is pointing the other way, right? If the mouth is pointing the other way, then we're going to go down. Shade down. And there we go. See, that's all there is to it. See, that took way less time than number 1. Okay, let's get to number 3 and 4 here. Okay, change colors here. Try to keep things interesting. All right, negative. Well, let's start with the y. All right, so the y is the same as in number 2. It's -5. All right, so kind of boring so far. But that was step 1. All right, so step 1. What's step 2? Well, what is the slope? It's not x. X is not a slope. X is a variable. What's it? There's no number. So is it 0? Well, if it was 0, like if it was 0x, that wouldn't work though. Because think about it. If it was 0, right? There's no number. There's no visible number there. So if there's no number, does that mean it's a 0? Well, if it was a 0, 0 times x would be 0. It doesn't matter what x is. X is a number, right? So it's just some number. But 0 times any number is 0. So if it was 0, the slope was 0, then there shouldn't be an x there at all. All right. Hopefully I didn't hurt your head too hard there. But it's not 0. Okay, if you don't see a number, it's 1. And here's maybe a good analogy. Like, you hand somebody a pencil, right? Somebody, you're in class, and your buddy sitting next to you, he never brings a pencil to class, right? Just thinks he's too cool for school, right? Whatever. So he's like, hey, let me bum a pencil from you. And you're like, no, fool, I just gave you one yesterday. Where's that? He's like, oh, I lost it. You're like, well, tough luck, right? Well, eventually he wears you down because he keeps asking. You're like, all right, well, fine, I'll give you a pencil, but stop asking. Like, I'm gonna start charging you for pencils here. So you give him a pencil, and so how many pencils did you give him? Gave him 1 pencil, right? You're not gonna give him more than 1 pencil. He's gonna lose both of them. So you gave him 1. Might as well snap that thing in half and give him half a pencil, right? Keep your maybe you get like some of those little golf pencils, and hand him like one. I don't know. But you hand him 1, right? You hand him 1 pencil, right? So if you're gonna hand him 1 pencil, you're not like, here's 1 pencil, right? Nobody says that. Here's 1 pencil. What? No, you're like, here's a pencil, right? So if you say here's a pencil, he knows you mean 1, but you didn't say there was 1 of them, right? So that's what's going on here. It's -x. Okay, so how many is that? It's 1. It's an x. There's an x there. I see an x. I don't see a number next to it, but there's an x there, right? So it's a 1, right? So there's a negative sign in front as well, which means it's -1. And just like in number 1, any number can be written as a fraction, just divided by 1. All right, all that work just to get the slope. Look at that. All right, so -1, we rise -1, aka go down 1. Go down 1, right 1. All right, down one, right one, right there. Boom. Okay. What if I did the opposite? What if can't I do the opposite? Because that's gonna make a line, right? Isn't this line gonna go like this? Right. Well, then it would go like that, right? So I can go the opposite direction too. Okay. And I actually have a video that talks about like all this stuff, like graphing these lines and stuff, like how to graph the lines. So I'll probably have that in the description below, and maybe like at the end of the video, you'll see a link for that. So if you're just like totally lost and you're like, man, I wish you'd spend more time talking about how to graph lines right now, then go check out that video, and I'll explain it more in that video. But let's dive into more of the steps here. So step 1 and 2 is basically just to graph the thing, which hopefully you're already pretty good at, and you're like, all right, stop wasting my time here. All right, so let's get into it here. So we already did step 1, we did step 2. All right, so we're done with the graphing part. Now we're doing the inequality parts, the step 3 and the step 4. Step 1, y-intercept. Step 2, slope. Step 3, dotted or solid. Oh, crap! I made a dotted line. Look at that. All right, so let's see if we can we oh, you know what? Is it gonna erase the whole thing? Oh, it is. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. I was hoping it would be a stroke eraser. I guess they don't have a stroke eraser. Oh man. I like that because you know what I'm talking about. Like you just erase parts of it. If you're using a pencil, then it'd be a lot easier because you could like erase pieces of it. Like if you mess up and you forget and you do a solid line, just erase like parts of it and then like darken the parts that you don't erase, and then you're good to go. I did it all the time and I was counted right, so I'm sure you'll be fine. And if not, then your teacher hates you and I'm sorry. All right, so here we go. Boom, 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 boom. I think this is the first dotted line we've done today so far. Okay. All right, so remember to do step 3. Step 1, y-intercept. Step 2, slope. Step 3, dotted or solid. Step 4, above or below. Looks like above, right? The mouth is pointing towards the y. Boom, 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 boom. All right, now we're done. All right, let's move a little faster here. All right, so oh, say move a little faster, and this one's totally different. Where's the x? There's no x. All right, well let's just start with the 4 because that's the y-intercept. Right, the thing that's not attached to the x is the y-intercept, so that's right there. Okay, so that's the y-intercept. But where's the x? All right, remember earlier, number 3, I was like, if there's no number, is it 0 or is it 1? Right? Well, not 0 because there's an x there. Well, now where's the x? Right? If there's no x, how many x's do you have? There's like no x at all, right? So how many x's do you have? You have 0. You have 0 x's. So the slope is 0, right? So you don't rise. All right, but if the slope is 0, isn't that the same thing as 0 over 1? Right? You can take any number and divide by 1, and it doesn't change. Right? So 0 over 1, right? So rise 0, as in don't rise, and then run 1. Oh, well, that's right here. Oh, boom! Look at that. Made me a little graph here. Now I can do dotted here. So I did a dashed line on number 3. Get a little crazy over here and do some dots. Because why not? I'm gonna dot there. There's some baby dots. Little tiny dots. All right, you can just go crazy with this stuff as long as it's not a solid line. And like I was saying earlier, I mean, you could even do a solid line and then just say it's like in a different color or something, and just be like, oh, when I use this color, that'll represent a dotted line or a solid line, right? Like work smarter, not harder. If you have trouble remembering, right? If you have trouble remembering, just use a different color or something, and then just do a solid line all the time. As long as you label it and you're like, hey, this when I use my blue colored pencil, or do these people use colored pencils still? I don't know. This is 2021 when I'm doing this. Let me know if you read this years later, if you're watching this years later and you're like, nobody uses colored pencils. What? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to see that. Like years later, somebody's like, colored pencils. What are those? All right. So dots, right? So dots. That's cool. All right, and actually we're almost done. Y is greater. Is that up or down? That's gonna be up. All right, so it's up here. Ah, got a little crazy there. Let's see if I can. It's a good thing it's now. Now I'm glad it's a stroke eraser, and not an area eraser. So something like that. I don't know. You can get real creative with it, or you can just kind of just whatever. Okay. Cool. Yeah, this one's way more tame than the last few. All right, so we're gonna really start jumping in and going a little faster here. What I'm going to do eventually is just start kind of working them out and go a little faster. And I challenge you to maybe like try to see if you can beat me when I get to the end. I'm going to go like super fast. I'm just going to solve it and not explain it. I'm not going to talk my head off. I'm just going to do it. Okay? And see if you can beat me. I challenge you. I don't think you can. I challenge. Let me know in the comments if you beat me, by the way. On maybe like the last two, because I'll go like full speed on the last two. Right? Not number 5. I probably won't. I'm already like way behind on number 5. Okay. So there's the y-intercept. What's the slope? It's 2. Right? But it's got to be a fraction. So 2 over 1. Right? So 2 over 1. Rise 2 over 1. Right? And since there's so much space here to do all these dots, I'll just keep going up 2 over 1. And that works. I'll just throw an arrow on it, you know, just kind of nonchalantly. Like, hey, there we go. There's the freaking graph, right? All right, so greater than. Boom, 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 boom. All right, we're done. Cool. Next. All right, so 2. So 1, 2, right? So step 1, y-intercept. Step 2, slope. Oh, can I go up 7? I can if I make some extra lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, totally. Why not? And then we go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So like, I don't know, like right there or something. Okay. And then we could go the other direction too. Like if we go the other direction, so I went up 7. What if I go down 7? Right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then go the other way. Right. So 1, 2, 3. Wouldn't that be the same thing? Right. So actually, you know, like even algebraically, right? So I went down 7, and then I went like backwards 4, like negative direction. Well, isn't that? That's just 7/4, right? Negative over a negative is a positive. So even algebraically, it makes sense. Like you just go in the opposite direction, right? Makes a line. Speaking of, what kind of line we got? Oh, hey, it's a solid line again. All right, so I get to do a solid line. It's a pretty terrible, it's a terrible solid line. Oh my gosh, this is like a cringe fest over here. Oh man, I dare you to make one that's better than that. Okay, cool. Let me know if you made one better than that. 'Cause that was a pretty good line right there. If I don't mind saying so, you know. Not to toot my own horn. Pretty good at this stuff. Okay, so number 7, x is less than -5. Well, dang, isn't there supposed to be a y there? What happened to that? All right. So how about this? Normally it's y, and then the number is the y-intercept. So bear with me here. What about this? If there's a y normally, and then the number is the y-intercept, then if there's an x here, that's the x-intercept, right? Right? Doesn't that make sense? Like think about it. Like the number that's by itself is always the y-intercept, because there's a y over here. So now, right? X is over here. That must be the x-intercept. Dang, look at that. That's crazy. All right, so then right here. Boom. Okay, but now what? What's the slope, right? Because we have an x, but there's no y. So is the slope 0? Well, there's an x, right? So the slope's not 0, right? But there's no y. If it had some sort of slope, because I mean it's like 1, right? But there's no y, right? So that has to mean something, right? Well, here's the thing. If there's no y, then actually, right? So if we were to say like a 0y and then divide by 0 or something, that's a little off, right? So if there's no y, then like technically that's 0, right? And maybe this is not the best way to explain this. I think a lot of teachers, what they do is they're like, oh, just remember something extra, you know, just remember this extra thing, you know. Oh, hey, when there's just an x and there's no y, remember this thing, right? Isn't that what they say? They're like, oh, hey, like there's an x, there's no y, it's a vertical line. You just have to remember it. You just have to remember it. Just remember this extra thing. Well, okay, so there's an x-intercept, right? Well, hold on. When there was only a y, right? For number 4, when there's only a y there, we graph the y-intercept, and then the slope is 0, right? Because there's no x. If there's no x, the slope is 0. 0 over 1, right? Okay, so then the opposite must be true about x, right? So for y, right, that's that number there, that's the y-intercept, right? That's the y-intercept. The slope is 0 because there's no x. Okay. Well, what's the opposite of a slope of 0? It'd be a slope of infinity. It's a terrible infinity sign. It's supposed to be a sideways 8. There we go. Sort of. All right. Well, what's the slope of infinity? It's like you ever climb one of those rock walls? Right. I mean, unless it's tilted. Sometimes they're tilted, but normally they're not. Normally they're like straight up and down, right? And you just climb straight up. That's a slope of infinity, right? You're climbing an infinite slope. You're going straight up. So that's what we're doing, and I almost forgot to not make that a solid. So this is going to be an almost solid line. I'm just going to have a little bit of a gap there. So it's like a very dashed line, but I've got some gaps in there, so all of a sudden that makes it okay, I think. Okay. So that's I wouldn't want you to just memorize a new thing. You know, like yeah, like you could just memorize, oh, like if it's y equals, then it's horizontal, and if it's x equals, then it's vertical, right? That's what your teachers tell you, right? And you know, some of them are good, some of them are alright, but a lot of them are just mediocre at best, right? So I don't want you to just have to memorize a bunch of crap, right? So just think about it, right? If you just remember one thing, just remember the mx plus b thing, right? And then just kind of go off of that, right? So if the y is going to have a 0 slope, if there's no x, then it's a 0 slope. If there's no y, it's got to have an infinity slope. So it's going to go up and down. All right, anyways. We probably won't run into any more of those. So at this point, we're going to speed go. We're going to speed run it, okay? Except for when we get to number 9. Because number 9 isn't solved for x or for y. Oh, man. All right, we gotta figure that out. We'll figure it out in a second. Okay. So -4, right there, and then this one is up 4 over 3. Up 4 over 3. Okay, and a solid line. All right, so solid line. And oh, you know what? We forgot to do on number 7. We forgot to do step 4. I was so caught up in the whole there's no y. Okay, so step 1 we did the x-intercept. It was the x-intercept actually. Step 2 the slope. Slope is infinity. Gives us the next point, which is right above it or below it or whatever. Step 3 dotted or solid. We did that, and then we didn't do step 4 yet. Step 4. Do we graph it above or below? Well, hold on. Because it's above or below because it's y. Because it's normally y, and then the sign, and then, you know, the stuff after that. Because it's normally like that, that's why you're like, oh, above or below. Well, now it's not like that. You can't go above a vertical line, right? That doesn't make any sense. There's nothing above a vertical line. It goes straight up, right? So which way does x go though, right? Because it's x. It's equal to x. Well, it's less than x technically, but you know, it's got the x on the left, right? So what does that mean? Well, I mean, which way does x go? X is the x-axis here, right? So it goes right and it goes left. Okay, so which way is positive? Positive is the positive numbers, right? So to the right is positive, to the left is negative. The sign is pointing away from the x. So less, it's negative, right? So less, it's going to shade this way. Right, so it's shading that way. Okay, cool, yeah, so you just got to be careful with those, right? And when it's x or y, you just want to be careful. All right, number 8, this one's actually really tame. Less than, we shade below. All right, boom, done. Okay. And then, oh hey, I didn't think we was going to run into any more of these things, but we did. All right, whatever. So new color. Now what do we do? Well, I mean, you could just plug in numbers, I guess. But we probably want to just kind of graph it, right? But when it's in this form is called standard form. It's the x and then the y and then the sign and then the number. It's useless. I don't even know why people bother with this, honestly. Like, whose idea was it to have a form called standard form and it does nothing for you? You know what I mean? It's like no offense if you like fish, but like I don't get it. I don't get it. Like you get a fish and you put it in a tank, and what does it do for you? Nothing. It just swims around and looks dumb. Okay, so it's like a fish. Standard form is like a fish. It's just swimming around and doing nothing. Right? I like the other ones. They're like cats and dogs. Right? At least cats are cute and they're like evil, but it's funny because they're like knocking crap over. And then dogs, like you can teach them tricks and stuff. So, um, but this is like a fish. Anyways, all right. So let's make this useful. We wanna solve it. We wanna solve it. If we can solve it for y, then it'll be useful, right? So, boom, boom. Negative 2y less than negative 3x plus 10. Yeah, I got serious there. I had to subtract 3x from both sides. Yeah, that was tough. So that was the first step. First step is always the same. If it's in standard form, first step is always the same. You just subtract the 3x from both sides, or whatever the x is, right? So like for number 10, you're going to subtract 5x. Number 12, that's in standard form. Subtract x. What else? Oh, that's it. Yeah, we're basically done at this point. So we're gonna speed run these last. Remember, I told you I was gonna challenge you. I'm gonna do number 11 and number 12 super fast. All right. So when we get to those, I'm just gonna knock them out. Right. All right. But let's look at this. So we subtracted 3x from both sides. That's always going to be the first step to solving it, right? So it's already 4 steps long. So now this dude right here, this number 9, which it's kind of weird because it's like 9's my favorite number, but it's like such an ugly equation. Um, we gotta divide it now. We're gonna divide by -2. Okay, so there's like 6 steps now, right? You gotta subtract or add the x on both sides, and then you also have to divide the number that's in front of the y. And since it's an equality, you have to flip the sign if you divide by a negative. Man, this is nuts. All right, so it's a less than sign, right? And again, if you don't know the names of the signs, if you still get those a little mixed up, it's fine. Just remember to flip the thing, right? So the mouth is going to the right, just make the mouth go to the left, right? No big deal. Right? I don't really care about proper terminology, all that stuff. So if you don't have that all squared away, don't worry about it. As long as you can solve the problem, right? You'll fail the vocab section, but you'll ace the rest of it. Don't fail the vocab section. Hopefully your teacher doesn't give you a vocab section. They're useless. Okay, so now we've got it solved, right? What is up with this -5? Okay, what seriously? Is it just me? All right, the -5. Where is it? -5. There's 2. -5. 3, 4. 4 -5s? What is up with? I can't think of any other numbers here. Okay, all right, whatever. So -5. Look at that. It's gonna be right here. So we're on step 1 now, right? So we did like step -1 was to subtract 3x from both sides, and then step 0 -0. Step 0 was to divide both sides by the number in front of y, and remember to flip the sign if you need to flip the sign. So now we're on to the OG, the original 4, right? So original 4, y-axis, intercept -5. Rise 3, 1, 2, 3, run 2, right? And then I'm just gonna keep doing it, right? So rise 3, run 2, rise 3, run 2, and just throw some arrows on it. We'll just say it's a dotted line, right? Boom, dotted line. And greater than. Okay, so greater than, which way is that? It's up, right? We're back to y's, right? Y is up. Whew. Okay, so number 10. Tell you what, we can because number 12 is not that hard compared to number 9 and number 10. So maybe what I'll do is I'll speed run the last 3. What do you think? But before I do, if you think this is helpful, at some point you think it's like kind of helpful, like hey, I just learned math today, right? That's the goal, I guess, right? Is to learn something. If you learn something and you want to learn more things, I have it's a PDF, a little PDF guide. You can grab it. It's a quick little download thing. It's a little just real quick little snippet. It's like I don't know, 2 pages, something like that. But it's like it's mostly like formulas and stuff. Um, And what it does is it's called the 5 math mistakes everyone makes and how to avoid them. Kind of a long title. I'm probably gonna revamp it and make it shorter soon. I'm pretty sure I said that like 3 months ago, but I will very soon, right? Like as soon as as in the Bible Jesus said he was coming back soon, right? Um, he's coming back soon, right? So I'm gonna get it done soon, right? So I mean I am though. I'm gonna get it done soon. You know, probably before Jesus comes back. I don't know when he's gonna come back, but probably before he comes back. Might be a little while longer maybe. But anyway, so if you like, you know, a little bit of humor, maybe a little bit of Christian humor from time to time, and I try to keep, you know, everything clean. I don't use any curse words or anything. If that sounds good to you, if you want to figure out how to not make math mistakes, how to get the right answers, the right math answers, you know, that guide might be for you. Just saying, right? I'm gonna use a different color for these last three. Just knock them out in one color. Um, Maybe like a red. Nah, let's do like a gold. Yeah, yeah, like a gold, like gold medal. If that sounds good, if that guide sounds like that's for you, links in the description below. All right, just go to my main website and it's on there. And if I do revamp it later, it'll be titled something else, like how to get the math questions right or something like that. I don't know. I'll think of something clever. How to get all your math questions right, right? Like free guide. Okay, so go check that out. And also if you if you want tutoring, that's what I mainly do right now as of November 16th, 2021. Math tutoring. So if you want math tutoring, I'll do a free first lesson. You can look in below. I have my email in there. Just shoot me an email. Be like, hey, I want a free lesson, right? And I'll give you a free first lesson. So, anyways, let's do this. Let's do this. You ready for this? You ready for? I don't know if you've been waiting around this long. Let me know in the comments. Like, dang, I waited this long just to see if I could beat you in a race. I don't know if you could scrub ahead. I guess you could scrub ahead to the last few here. But let's do this. Are you ready? I'll race you. Okay. What should I do? Like on your mark, get set, go. Will that work? Yeah, something like that. I don't know if you've already looked at number 10. Have you already looked at I haven't really looked at number 10. So like, to be fair, like if you've already been looking at number 10, you already know how to solve it. You're like, isn't that kind of like cheating? I haven't really looked at number 10, so like I don't know. You know what I mean? Just saying. All right, but anyways, you know, it's fair game. It's fair game. You ready? Okay, so number 10. On your mark, get set, go. All right, so. All right, so something like that. Looks super sloppy. I don't know. Did you beat me? Let me know if you beat me. So something like that. And I just kind of did the math in my head, right? So I wrote 5/3 off to the side, and if you beat me, awesome. You know, fair game. I'm not like, you know, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it was an off day, or I wasn't on my A game. You know, no, I don't mean when who is ever really like completely on their game, right? Who's ever completely on their A game? It's just a regular day. But congrats if you beat me. But yeah, so here's what I did, right? So I was like, all right, -5. Okay, but then I'd have to divide by -3 next. So it'd be +5/3, right? So the slope is +5/3. And then I was like, okay, well, what about when I divide by -3? I'm gonna have to divide that by the -15. So it's -15 over -3, which is +5. So the slope, the y-intercept is 5. Slope is 5/3. So boom, boom, did that. And then I was like, okay, well, what about the sign? Is it less? Well, no, because I have to divide by -3. So I'd flip it and make it positive. So then it's or greater than. So shade above, but it's still gonna have that bar, so it's still gonna be a solid line. Okay. Yeah, let me know if you beat me. I'm kind of curious. I don't think you will. I don't think you did. I don't think you did. Maybe you'll just be like, yeah, I beat you, but you didn't actually beat me. I don't know. But I'll believe you. I'll believe you. I'll believe you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Throw it in the comments. I'll believe you. All right. So, anyways, number 11. All right. On your mark, get set, go. Oh, nope, nope, nope. Going back. I made a blunder. Trying to go too fast. 4 is right here. You might have already beat me on this one. Dang, I messed up. All right, I'm done. Boom. All right, number 12. Ready? On your mark as I go. All right, so boom, boom, boom. Oh, it's dotted. Yeah, it's dotted. That's what it said. Dotted. All right, cool. Oh, wait, hold on. Minus. You might have beat me on that one too. There we go. All right, so something like that. That was really sloppy. All right, so let's actually solve this one out. So this is the answer, and then I'll show you the answers, and we'll wrap up here. So negative y, negative x plus 2, and then y would be less than x minus 2. So minus 2, that's why I'm right here. And then a positive x, so how many x's is that? Is that 0 or 1? It's 1, right? So 1 over 1. So rise 1, run 1. All right, so it didn't end up being rise 1, rise 1 when I was going further out because I just stopped like counting. But you know, basically like a slope of 1 there. And then dotted line. And then I shade below. All right, cool. So it's super sloppy. Your teacher might graph you for, or graph you, might grade you for your graph. So you know, be careful with that. But yeah, here's the answers. All right. Cool. Cool. Yep. 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 And look at that. See, right there. See. Yeah. All right, and that's it. Hope you had a good time. I had a good time, and I'll see you in another episode real soon. Deuces.